I have quite the dilemma. I'm 26 years old. I live at home with my parents, and I just threw up. Threw up. Feel sick as a dog. I have this strong urge to tell my mom. I don't know why. Don't know what she'd do. She can't really do anything. She can't make me unthrow up. I know she can't do anything, but there's some comfort right now at 12 o'clock in the morning of getting my mother out of her sleep, standing in the doorway and just being like, hey, I threw up. And just letting her know. That would make me, I think, feel better. I think I have to do this.
Welcome to Let's Glow with Nini. I'm Nini. Let's get straight into this video.
I don't think there's anything wrong with adults living with their parents. Matter of fact, I feel the exact same way I felt when I said this.
Household, it is a custom to not move out until...
Child, I'm still living at home. This life shit is hard, it's expensive, and it's ghetto. I can't stand the way people try to make it seem like, oh, you're past your teenage years and you're still living at home. Shit, yes. These jobs don't pay good enough to even afford a 1-bed, 1-bath. And that's not including every single other bill and tab you have to pay. We're basically paying to breathe at this point. A lot of these jobs want you to be educated, and then even when you are educated, they still pay you some bullshit amount. Even though some young people, some 20, 21-year-olds, even though some of them may be well off financially, that's literally not the case for most people that age. A lot of us are struggling and trying to still find our identities. So if you think that we're going to be financially stable by the age of 20, you are absolutely ludicrous. Life doesn't get easier. You just learn how to understand things better.
Baby, that video went viral and they drugged me across every single platform. And some of y'all may be like, well, Kaylin, what did you say wrong? Well, shit, I don't know. People dissected that video and everything I had on in it. People was talking about, oh, she talking about this, but she wearing a Gucci bonnet. When have y'all ever went into Gucci and seen Gucci selling bonnets? I bought that bonnet off TikTok for like $12. Oh, maybe she can't afford to do this because she be going to the nail shop. Y'all see she got her nails done. Those nails were press-on nails that were like $10 from Walmart. Wow, them $10 nails and that $12 bonnet really did put a halt on my progress in getting a house or an apartment or a car, paying this bill or paying that bill. Be for real. And now I'm bringing that conversation right back around. That video was before having 2 dozen eggs was a flex. That video was before gas prices shooting up. That video was before rent being increased. Since I made that video, things have gotten more expensive. Things got more expensive, but ain't nobody being paid more. Let's be for real. Say y'all expected 20-year-olds to have their own shit. They own place to live, they own car, this, that, and the third. For the most part, we all graduate when we're like 17 or 18. If we're going to go and get an education that's going to pay well, we're going to have to be in school for a few years. That goes past the age of 20. Please tell me how that's realistic. You have a lot of adults that are even past the age of 20 still at home. Because at the end of the day, age does not really matter. It's hard for everybody. I do not judge people who stay at home. I don't care if they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Not everybody is in a situation or predicament to where they can afford to pay certain things. And it's not to say that all of these people are lazy and have no ambition, because truth be told, you don't know what these people got. These people could be sitting on $200,000 and you don't even know that. At the end of the day, what somebody else chooses to do is not your damn business. Why is somebody else's living situation such a bother to you? I said what I said back then, and I said what I said now.
A lot of people keep asking me how I got here, like the story of it all. So I'll keep it a ball. I'll probably keep the story short and sweet. One day about 3 years ago, I was actually filming a podcast with my homies, and out of nowhere, I get a text message from my baby mama, who was my girlfriend at the time. It was long as hell, and it was a breakup text. I vividly remember reading the first line saying, "You thought I was playing with you, but I always told you if you ever cheated, I was leaving." She goes on, it's a good page and a half text message. She went in, let me know about myself. I get home, and my house is empty, bro. She packed up the kid, packed up all the stuff that she brought with her to the house that we got together, and left me. She took my kid's bed, she took the couch, she took the coffee maker, she took everything. Now, did I do what she said she did? What she said I did? Yes, absolutely. I'm guilty as fuck. But to get blindsided like that sent me to a spiral. My immediate response was to spend money to obviously replace the shit that she took, but also kind of make myself feel better. I understand how women call it retail therapy, because that's what it felt like. My second response to that was I cried for a good 3 weeks. I was sad as hell. Then I was back in the field, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I spent 2.5 years hiding behind bitches and bulls. And it wasn't until I moved back to my hometown, back in with my parents, where I was able to really sit with myself and all the decisions that I had made prior, from being a bad person to, making bad financial decisions, before I started the healing process. I'm on here just telling y'all my life. I got here after a 4-year-long relationship. The white stuff keep building up inside of my mouth. I need to drink something. But yeah, so I'll say everything that I'm going through is me just paying my karmic debt. I've won so many different times, and I've lost even bigger. So I'm not ashamed of anything that I go through. I chalk it up to be a part of the human experience, and I'm excited to see the growth that comes from all these life lessons that I've learned over these last few years. I'm oversharing my life. But I seen somebody say, yo, people care about the real stuff. Everybody likes to pretend to be perfect on the internet, and I'm not. I'm just trying to figure this whole human experience out one day at a time, and I'm documenting the journey of it. So if you dislike my position that I'm in life, if you dislike the things that I've posted so far, I completely understand, because I dislike some of that shit too. But if you want to stick around, and you want to see a man hold himself accountable and pull himself up by his bootstraps and get back to prosperity, stick around. Click that follow button, share this, repost it, and we'll see how far we can take this thing. I'm excited, and I want to welcome each and every last one of y'all to the journey.
Did you live with your parents past 22?
I'm 20 right now. I'm still living with my parents.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, right? Come here. At this point, there is no longer an age limit to staying with parents. Does that make sense? Right? I know before it was like, oh, once we turn like 20 or so, try to move out of your parents' house. The way that life is going, that is quite literally almost impossible at this point. People who claim they don't live with their parents anymore, come here. They probably have roommates somewhere else, right? And living with your parents or living with roommates, both are pretty uncomfortable. The only difference is, at least if you live with your parents, somebody's going to say that they love you at the end of the night. Well, for most of us. But you know what I'm saying, right? At this point, living by yourself is almost impossible. Anybody who does live by themselves, they either are working so much that they can't even enjoy living by themselves, or somebody is helping them pay those bills, because at this point, it's impossible.
There's anything wrong with adults living with their parents.
I don't think people understand. Right now, the average amount of money you have to make in order to live by yourself is $60,000 a year, meaning you have to get paid $30 an hour. Come here. And that is just to cover rent. That's not including furniture. That's not including other bills. That's not including car issues, right? If you were to put all that together, you'd have to make about $75,000 a year, meaning you have to get paid over $35 or $40 an hour. So if you know somebody that is making you feel bad because you live at home with their parents, unless they are making $40 an hour at their job, they're definitely lying to you about their living situation. They either live in a closet or they have 4 roommates. There's nothing wrong with staying with your parents right now, because at this moment in time, the new generation, they can't save any money. The only thing going up is the cost of things, not the actual payment towards their lives.
Let's talk about living with your parents for a minute. I've been seeing a lot of videos like this, and for somebody that's still living with their parents, I wanted to put my 2 cents in with this shit. Now, I will say, if you living with your parents and you not paying no bills, you should be up. There's no way that you shouldn't have no motherfucking money. The only excuse that I would take is you being in college. But if you not in college and you still living in your parents' house, you should be up. Why the fuck you such in a hurry to move out? You should be stacking up your bread. You should have a safe house damn near. But I do understand if you want to move out your parents' house, depending on the circumstance. If you got strict parents, if you had a lot of shit going on in your house, then I understand why you such in a hurry to move out. I've been paying bills since I was 17. My mama ain't even let me walk the stage before she told me I got to help pay bills. So I got to help pay bills. I got to get my own car. I got to help everybody else out in the house. And I got to still accommodate to my living. So, of course, I wouldn't be such in a rush to move out, because I got a lot of shit to pay for. And plus, I tried going to college and still doing all this shit at one time. It just didn't work out for me. So like I said, everybody's circumstance different. My pet peeve is when I meet people, you're my age. You have not paid a bill since you graduated high school. You've been out of school 3-4 years. Cuz, why is you not stacking your money? You're bugging. You're bugging. Out of all the work I put in, I was job hopping and some more shit, by the way. But out of all the work I put in, out of all the money that I made in the past couple years, if I didn't have to pay a single bill in my parents' house, I would have a house. I would have a motherfucking Tesla. I'm just saying, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you don't gotta be in a rush to move out your parents' house, if your parents trust you, if your parents let you do what you want to do, they let you go in and out the house as you please, etc., bro. There's no point of you being in a rush to move out. Stop living up to the social media standards, bro. Everything should go at your own pace. If you got strict parents or whatnot, then I understand. If you always had living situations with your parents, you and your parents always bump heads, I understand. But other than that, you should be stacking your bread up and preparing yourself to pay $1,500 rent. These jobs ain't paying enough already for us to be paying this shit by ourselves. So you got to prepare yourself for that. Like now I'm preparing myself for that shit. You feel me?
I'll be 31 next week and I just moved back in with my parents. Not gonna lie, I was a little embarrassed about it, but now I don't give a fuck because it's not y'all lives, it's mine, and I'm gonna do what's best for me. So I'm moving back home for a few reasons. Some I'm not gonna discuss because it's personal, but the major ones is to pay off debt and to go back to school. In order to pay off my debt within a certain amount of time I want to pay it off and to go to school, the best option for me was to move back home with my parents so I can, save money and be able to pay for school and pay off my debt. Maybe this is the easy way to do it, and that's fine. I choose not to struggle because I'm tired of struggling, and I'm so thankful and blessed that I do have parents who will always welcome me back home. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices in life to put you in a better position. I'm willing to sacrifice 2 years of my life to have my second degree and to be debt-free. So, judge your mama.
I don't think there's anything wrong with adults living with their parents.
I've been waiting on this shit. I've been staying at home since I was born, like from birth. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. I built a good, healthy relationship with my mother that turned into a genuine friendship with my mother. Like, I probably knew ins and outs about my mother that my siblings didn't know. And it's not because they didn't have the relationship with my mother or anything, but that's because I stayed at home. Not only that, but I gained so much knowledge from still staying at home with my mother. I actually learned that having an 800 credit score was more valuable than having $8 million in the bank. My mother taught me that. She wanted me to build credit. She also taught me that if I took out a life insurance policy for myself, say maybe about like a $250,000, million, whatever, and I pay that off, by the time that I am of retirement age, I have retirement money. Because I know every black child that is around my age, you done been told by your mama or your grandparents that you ain't gonna have no social security, and they ain't lying. Also, just because I stay at home with my mother does not mean that I don't have bills. I repeat, it does not mean I don't have bills. I still pay bills just like everybody else. I did not get out this bitch scot-free. Why is it normalized in other cultures where they keep their children at home? They're still 35 and they still staying at home. Italians do it. Jewish people do it. Indians do it. It's so many different reasons. Probably because of culture. Probably because that's just how these parents were raising their children to keep their kids at home still. Let's be honest. At 18, black folks is kicking their kids out. You knew you had to be out at 18. And at 18, you are still very much a kid. You don't know how this world works. People sometimes set their own up for failure. My mother did not want that for me. She wanted to make sure that I had the fundamentals and I knew what this life was. That's what's wrong with a lot of us. You see this glitz and glamour on TV and you see people living this life or people having these businesses and they getting all this money and you think that you can live like that. That's not the way the real world works. Like for me, it was never about the money. It wasn't that I couldn't afford to stay on my own. It actually ended up coming out in my favor, to be honest, because I ended up having to take care of my grandmother when my grandmother got sick. And I lived with my mother with that. She could have never have done that on her own. I took care of other family members when they got sick. I wouldn't have been able to be so hands-on if I was not at home with my family. I was still very much an adult, still did what I needed to do, still went out. I still pay bills because y'all are confused by that. Like, I didn't see nothing wrong with staying at home. Like, I think that made me a more well-rounded person, to be totally honest.
I wish I was 30 years old, able to live with my parents, because I would. Let me tell you one thing. I've been a homeowner since I was 23. Y'all, and when I tell you the journey is hard, okay? Everything that gotta get fixed around this motherfucker, I gotta pay for. If I can go back to my mama's house, you can bet your last butt I would sell all of this shit and go back there just so I could save some money and do it all over again. It's nothing wrong with being 30 and living with your parents. That's really what I want to say. That's the bottom line. I feel like people even have something to say about that. Like, what are you mad for? Because your parents won't take you in? I don't know. And my son, he gonna have his own house in my backyard. I'm sorry. He could stay here as long as he wants to. I'm not putting my kids out and they not financially ready. Granted, I've been working since I was 16, so, I mean, that don't really apply to me, but, you know.
There's a one topic of conversation that I never understood. Why people bring up every other couple months of life. When you're in your 20s, it's embarrassing to still live with your mom. I'm 29 and I still live with my mom. There's a difference between living with your parents and living off your parents. I pay my mom rent. The fuck? Our house, 5-bedroom, 3-bath. Yeah. I have the whole basement. Literally, we share the kitchen, and she has to come downstairs to use the washer and dryer. Baby, I'm not paying $1,900 to live in Southeast. I'm from here. I know how shit go, bitch. I got $700 for you. These apartments cost too much. I'm gonna move out when I get a house. The fuck is y'all talking about? I ain't embarrassed, not a fuck-ass piece.
I don't think there's anything wrong with adults living with their parents.
Let me just say this. I done had to move back home about 4 or 5 times. And if I gotta move back home 4 or 5 more, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not about to be out here robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm gonna do what I could do, and then that's all I could do. And if doing what I could do, me moving back to my mama residence so I could stack my paper, so I could save up, so I could, set a budget and stick to that budget, then baby, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't care if I'm 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Baby, my mama house paid for. She ain't paying no rent. Okay? So if I gotta move back and stake my paper, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't care who talk about me. I don't know where we made up in our minds that just because you're an adult, you have to live on your... Man, have y'all seen this economy? I'm 2 seconds away from going on this and that shit. I'm damn right I'm going home.
Being 30 and living with my mom does not bother me at all because I don't have kids. I'm a kid still. I don't give a fuck. Until I have kids, I'm the fucking kid. Like, I don't care. Like, Mom, I live here. You brought me here. Until I bring my own, you feel me? I'm good. I'm solid. I'm staying here. Fuck, I can hop up, skip, jump to the next country. I'm going to the DR in February. Motherfucker going to Jamaica in March. Might slide to Mexico in November. So, yeah, like, my room is good. Like, I'm cool on, paying my little piece of rent to my mom, and that's all it is. Can't nobody tell me I'm late. Can't nobody kick me out. Can't nobody shit. So, I'm cool with staying with my mama, working, having a business, traveling the world until I have a kid. Until I become the mama. Because right now, the grandmama the baby.
You live with your parents, you better be making damn good use of that time. Yeah. It's disrespectful to your parents if you live with them because you want to follow your dreams and then you eat Cheetos and watch Netflix all the time. Yeah. Like that's, you should, I honestly would feel ashamed,
I don't think there's anything wrong with adults living with their parents.
I've been meaning to stitch this video because I got a lot to say about it. The first thing I want to say, which is the most important part, which is don't ever let somebody tell you what's best for you. Half of these people ain't got it together. So to let them dictate what works best for you, what's going to put you in the best position, you better not listen to nothing that they got to say. If you like staying at home with your parents want you there, y'all don't have any issues, why exactly would you leave to prove a point to these people? Who are these people? These people mean nothing. Whether or not the stuff they say is good or bad, they mean nothing. The only person's best interest you should be looking out for is yourself. And only you know what that looked like for you. I'm going to tell you just like this. I didn't leave my mom and daddy until I wanted to, until it was time, until I felt it was time. And I wasn't going to let nobody else dictate that or tell me when it was time. I was friends with these girls back in the day when we graduated high school. And I ended up getting a really good job straight out of high school. And I was making good money for it at that time. And everybody else I knew was working at like fast food restaurants or just getting, not good money. And I was still staying at home with my mama. But the girls that I knew, a lot of them was starting to move out. But they wasn't moving out because they wanted to move out. They was moving out because they had to. Their parents wasn't going to let them stay at home. But, they would make it seem as if they moved out because they wanted to. And it wasn't like when they moved out into these nice areas. They moved out into the hood. You think that I'm going to leave my mama and daddy to go out and end up somewhere in the hood just to prove a point to somebody that I can move out? When I got this bedroom here and I got everything I need and my parents love me and we got a good relationship, you think I'm going to move out to prove something to you? My parents allowed me to stay at that house rent free, and the only condition was that I stack and save my money. And so when the time came and I was ready to move out and I got my first apartment, I was able to go in and fully furnish it. I had money stacked up in the bank for a rainy day, and it was a good thing I did because I ended up getting laid off while I was in that apartment. But because I had over 12 months of rent payment in the bank, I ain't had no issues because it took me 6 months to find another job, but I was good because I had that money stacked. When I got my first house and it was in the process of getting built, I was able to go back home with my mom and them until the house got finished being built. The doors have always been open for me to come anytime I needed it. And I thank God for that. Don't ever let nobody, whether or not it's this internet, people you around, make you forget the blessings that God gave you. If you get along with your parents and y'all don't have no issues and you stay at home and it's comfortable for you at that moment, don't let nobody take that blessing for you or make you even question it.
B-roll is just like clips that are outside the main focus of what you're trying to make.
Hey, I'm 23. I ain't pressed to leave home. I'm sorry, but that rent expensive. And I ain't trying to live with roaches, man. See, I want that nice shit. I want that concierge. I want that key fob apartment. I don't want the hard carpet with the jail balcony. I'm cool. Like, y'all be so pressed to leave y'all parents' house, bruh. Just so y'all can be the first one to show the key. New spot, new me. And then be struggling to pay rent every single month. See, it's a difference when you got the money to move out, but you rather keep saving, and when you move out and don't know how you gonna pay the rent next month. I'm cool. Think about it. I'm about to pay $1,700 a month to live by myself. Nah, I'm cool. Don't get me wrong. It be moments when I'm like, damn, I need to get my own spot. But then that rent hits you. We gonna have to thug it out at mom's joint for another year. I ain't rushing at all. The way this rent is, especially when you paying by yourself, we might gotta pick food over furniture. But yeah, stop being pressed to move out until you comfortable to, bro. Facts.
I'm 30 and I still live at home with my parents. I'm sure some of you will be turned off by this, or some of you may be able to relate, but I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about the way we live life now compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Growing up, living at home past like going to school, like university, college, whatever it may be, was seen as like embarrassment and like super wrong. Obviously, like when I grew up, it was like you go to university, you get your degree, then you get a job straight away, and then you follow those steps like meet your partner, get a dog, get your house, have your kid, do all those things. But I've never been that person. Like I have never ever followed the steps, societal steps that have been kind of like put into me, and I guess what my parents did when they were growing up. So for me, that just like wasn't the way things happened. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are following those steps and they're really, really happy. And there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. But I feel like there's still a lot of people that did follow those steps and they're not happy. Maybe they got married really young and they found out that their partner and themselves grew apart or whatever it may be. Like, zero judgment, you do you. But for me, that just wasn't, what happened. My 20s were like kind of different. And the first like 6 of them really were spent being ill. And so there was no kind of like thought of me living by myself. I obviously very wanted my own place, but I never could afford to do it. And I didn't see myself really having a future, so I didn't invest in my future. I didn't have a savings or anything like that. I just spent money because I didn't think I would make it past the age of 25. So for me, like setting up savings accounts for my future home or apartment or whatever just like wasn't a thing. And I'm sure like maybe there'll be someone else who can relate, but I just never did that. And I'm 30, but I spent the last 5 years of my life running a business and I didn't really make any money out of it. And there's so much to go into that, but that's the reality of kind of where my life is at right now. And you can say whatever you want, but that's the cards I've been dealt, so that's what I'm working with. And then I absolutely want my own place. I don't want to live with my parents forever. I'm super, super driven to get my own place by the end of this year, but we'll see what happens. If I don't hit that goal, it's not going to be the end of the world. I'll be 31 at the end of this year, and obviously I will want to be living by myself, but life is really expensive right now, especially if you live in Canada, then you know the housing market is absolutely bonkers. Like, you can't find a nice house under 500K anymore. And most houses are like 800 plus now, and rent is also ridiculous. Like, to rent by myself is like 2,500 plus, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that can afford that, but there's a lot of people that can't because that's just rent. And then the grocery prices here are absolutely insane. Like, if you're from Canada, then you know inflation has really done us hard, especially when it comes to housing and groceries and gas. And those are just like the necessities. Like, that's not adding in like experiences, life, anything like that. So it can be super discouraging to kind of like be at a state where obviously I want to be living by myself, but I can't afford to right now. And that is my reality. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are in similar situations. Maybe they've gone through some major hardships in life and they've had to move back home with their parents while they figure things out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I used to be super ashamed, super embarrassed for my whole 20s at the fact that I was still living at home and just thought that like people would think of me differently. But it's really cool. And I honestly don't see a ton of people online around my age who are still living at home. And that's just like, I'm not getting served that. I'm getting served like the people that are either with their partners or have their own apartments or have their own houses already, mostly in the US, but in Canada, I'm not seeing that. And I'm just not finding like late 20s, early 30s who are still living with their parents. So I want to be that person for other people that also aren't finding that. And I wanted to like kind of share this perspective that I'm kind of coming to realization now. And a lot of people have been telling me about this, is that this time spent with my parents was truly a gift. Like, I've become so close to my parents. My mom is literally my best friend. I love spending time with them. We eat dinner together every night, which may not be normal for someone who's 30 with their parents. And that's just like my reality. And I know one day I'll be able to look back on this last, like, how long have I been living at home? Since I was 23, last like 7-8 years, and be like super grateful at the time I got with my parents, because obviously I know, which I hate this, is that they're not going to live forever. I'm not going to live forever. And I don't know how long, right? We have no idea how long we're all going to be on this earth. But the fact that I got this extra time with them that maybe I wouldn't have gotten before if I had met someone or if I was living somewhere else. Like, I don't know. I think there's a different perspective we can take on living at home with our parents when we're in our like late 20s, 30s, late 30s, whatever it may be, and just kind of let go of the shame and the embarrassment. And if you want to reflect that on me, that's fine. But I'm pretty secure and I'm working towards it. And I know there's a lot of other people that are too. So if you're also living at home with your parents and you're 30 or late 20s or 20s, whatever it may be, and you feel like you're behind, you're not behind, you're on your own journey and you're following your own life journey, and you can't compare to anybody else. So I just wanted to let you know that.